What's up, Gator Nation? Welcome into the latest Gators Online show. Zach Albaverdi and Nick Del Torre here, and we've got some numbers to talk about this week. What kind of numbers? Weight room numbers. Nick got a behind-the-scenes sneak peek into Florida's offseason workouts this week, and we'll give you all the details. Well, not all of them, some of them. You'll have to go to Gators Online to get the full scoop. But a really cool experience that Nick got to have this week, checking out Tyler Miles and his strength and conditioning program. We'll get into that. Obviously, some other news that went down in a really slow week for the Gators, Nick.
Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. A huge week for NCAA college athletics to begin with. But you know what, Zach? We should have known. Things have been running so smoothly. Florida was getting so many positive headlines.
That's not allowed.
Yeah, and then we were feeling too good. As Jim McElwain would say about his old teams, they started playing good and people started rubbing their belly. They started feeling good about themselves.
Yeah, well, I know that players are across college athletics are feeling good about themselves right now after the ruling this week. It's a new day for college athletics, and I think we can get into that real quick before we start getting into this weight room stuff and some of the other UF news. But Nick, this has been a long time coming. This is something that Scott Strickland has suggested on the Gators Online show as one of the paths to solving this chaotic situation that we've seen the past couple of years with NIL, and now players are going to get a piece of the pie, something that Steve Spurrier requested a long time ago.
It's going to be interesting. So the TV numbers and the TV contracts kept going up and up and up, and Billy Napier's been on record being like, I don't know what it looks like, but we're going to have to give the players some sort of piece of the pie, and coaches' salaries have gone up across the board. The TV rights deals that the ESPN just signed with the SEC, we're talking billions of dollars. It will be interesting. There's a lot of questions and a lot of things that athletic directors and presidents, conference commissioners are going to have to figure out. Title IX, while it has done a great job and made things better for women and made up more opportunities for girls to go to college and to play sports in college, it's going to be interesting because anything you do for football, you have to do and make it even and make it equal. Football drives the revenue, but you can't just give more scholarships or more money to football because you have Title IX. That's a federal law, federal regulation. So I'm worried. I guess my concern will be when you start getting this money and stuff has to be divvied out, are we going to lose Olympic sports at some places? Florida has 21 sports. I think they make enough money that they'll be okay, but you see it all across the country. Baseball is a quick sport that people drop because if you drop a women's sport, you also have to drop a man's sport, and baseball is an expensive sport to run at some smaller schools. So I'll be interested to see if we start losing some of the non-revenue sports, the Olympic sports. Scott Strickland always mentions, Zach, that the United States is the only country in the world that essentially colleges are funding the training of the Olympic team. Through like Mouse's track team. Mouse is an Olympic coach in his own right. So it'll be interesting, but shout out to all the former players. I had a couple hit me up, Zach, when they saw it. They're like, hey, do I get money? I'm like, if you played from 2016 till now, it might be a small check, but you're going to get a check cut to you.
Yeah, so, $2.77 billion settlement for those former athletes. A lot of checks to go out. And those are going to keep coming. I think that obviously this is the right thing to do and something that probably should have been happening all along, and keeping them from getting a piece of the pie because of amateurism was always kind of a joke. The one, I guess, thing that I'll be monitoring and hoping isn't the case, but weary that it could still be, is that I guess ideally this would offset and maybe even negate some of this crazy NIL stuff that we've been seeing the past couple years, but I don't think NIL is going to go away. So you're still going to get revenue sharing. You're still going to have players now that are getting paid directly from their schools, but it's not like they're all not going to be having NIL deals on top of that. Boosters are still going to be writing checks and wanting to fund those type of deals. So while I hope that it takes away some of the, I guess, reliance on that and maybe makes, you don't get so much donor fatigue because of all the weight that they've been having to carry. I still think that market is going to be there, and people are going to exploit it if they have the donors that are willing to. That's not going to stop, but maybe it's not going to be now or never, because if you're coming to an SEC school that's getting part of that TV contract, as an SEC athlete, you're going to get at least part of that paycheck.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You can't take NIL away because, like, for instance, Parker Valby, the cross-country runner, or the cross-country and track athlete at Florida, she probably makes more than some of the football players through natural endorsements because she has a huge social media presence and a huge following, which is sort of what NIL was supposed to be. If companies wanted to sponsor you to endorse their brand, which she does a bunch of. Skylar Wallace on the softball team does a bunch of. Livy Dunn did millions of dollars in true NIL deals. Not necessarily what we read in the Jaden Rashada lawsuit. Not necessarily. That's not what NIL was supposed to be. So I think you'll still have. I think you'll still have collectives. I think you'll still have NIL in terms of endorsement deals. So there's a lot of details and major decisions that Greg Sankey and the rest of the conference commissioners, the presidents of universities, and the athletic directors of universities, a lot of murky waters. They're essentially jumping into Lake Alice, Zach, and trying to swim past the alligators and come to some good decisions here that but it could, might be back into the wild, wild west, just as you thought you were figuring NIL out. Like, hey, we're trying something different now.
Yeah, and like, is there now going to be universities and administrators and athletic directors that are now asking their donors to help them now more on their side of things because they're having to funnel out money from the revenue side to pay the players, and now they need more help for things like obviously facility projects, but even athletic program supports to fund all those teams that you're talking about, Nick. So they might need, the Gary Condrens and others of the world to maybe cut back just a tad on NIL because players are going to have another avenue now to get financial support. But it is crazy how it's going to all play out. Does now NIL become more in-house across the board throughout college athletics? Can universities or athletic programs basically run their NIL now and have that basically be part of the budget, so to speak? So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like here in the next few years, but just know that it's coming. So you guys always know that this show is coming each and every week. We usually tape on a Thursday and then, put it out on Friday on our site, but we are doing this this week on a Friday, and you guys will get it Saturday. And not because it was my anniversary on Thursday, not because my daughter was graduating from pre-K and going into kindergarten. No, I chipped a tooth and couldn't talk on Thursday without, damn near cutting up my tongue. And it was a bad situation, but shout out to Prairie Dental Center because they took care of me, got me in Friday morning, fixed me up. Sometimes if you get a chip or something bad, you're immediately thinking crown or you're worried about what you're going to have to do for a permanent filling. But that's not what I needed from Prairie Dental Center. They took care of me. I was in and out in 15 minutes, and everything's back to normal now. So appreciate the doc for taking care of me. and want to encourage all of you out there that if you're having dental concerns or you need a cleaning, I definitely encourage you to go check out Prairie Dental Center. The doctor is a UF grad who's practiced in Gainesville for more than 3 decades and developed a deep understanding of how to diagnose and treat various dental problems, along with advanced skills and knowledge to provide better and effective care for his patients, like what I had to deal with this week. So give them a call. They've got a lot of different options to meet your needs. 352-373-3431. Tell them Gators Online sent you, and your new patient exam will be free. And with that, we teased it at the start of the show. Nick's been covering this all week. A lot of our subscribers at Gators Online have gotten the first peek at some of these stuff going on at workouts. We will delve into some of that. But again, if you want to get the full scoop, make sure that you go subscribe to Gators Online. And as all of our Gators Online listeners know, you can use that code UF1 to get 2 months for just $1. Nick, this was something that was supposed to be in the works about a month or so ago, and just lining up everybody's schedule. I think you're probably glad that it happened this week, given what you got to see. And I guess, how far they are along in their offseason program. I guess the later that you see them and look at those numbers, the better you can get a picture of how far they've come. So talk to us about how this opportunity came together, and shout out to Rick Hurtado for pulling back the curtain once again for Gators Online.
Yeah. Rick has done a really good job advocating for us. We've gotten Billy and other coaches off the record, which helps, shape our opinions that we write, that you guys read, that you guys hear. Zach's gotten a bunch of access that behind the scenes of National Signing Day was great. Yeah. Other outlets have gotten access inside to talk to coaches one-on-one. And I was supposed to do this before spring ball with Craig Fitzgerald. And we couldn't line it up. We couldn't line it up, and then Craig left to go rejoin his head coach at Boston College. So it kind of just kept getting pushed back, and luckily for me, the team gets back from back for summer A session, and they start working out, and the opportunity presented itself. Yeah. The opportunity presented itself. I was able to go interview Tyler Miles, Jake Sankel, talk to Damian George, Hayden Hansen, and then I was able to watch after speaking to them, like, hey, I'm interested in seeing what these workouts look like. Can I come and watch one of those? And there's stuff I can and can't report from that. Respect what they asked not to be out there, because you're getting access, extra access, but have every single player on the team's weigh-ins, what they've gained, what they've lost in terms of fat and muscle. We'll have some 40 times, some unbelievable lifts. We can tease a little bit of that later, but yeah, it's really cool experience to see how the guys interact with the coaches. It's interesting. Tyler Miles and Jake Sankel kind of work together. Sankel is the nutritionist, dietitian, but also, like me, a former D3 baseball player, really big into strength and conditioning.
Yes, sir.
He was the only nutritionist also on the strength staff in the NFL.
One of a kind.
And Florida had to make a very nice contract offer to get him out of the NFL and into college. And talking to him, I think in the NFL, you're probably trying to like tweak and get somebody at 1% better. And the opportunity to come to college where you're dealing with 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Jake told me your muscle, your bone structure in a male can grow until you're 25. So you can see some unbelievable changes in guys, and the scans that I had access to that we're putting up on Gators Online is just from January to April. And we're talking guys have put on 10, 13, 14, 15 pounds of lean muscle mass while dropping. I think the biggest weight loss I saw was 27 pounds. I said, Jake, I need to jump into this. I would like to lose 27 pounds in 3 months, please. But yeah, really, really cool access. It's interesting to see how structured everything is. And my favorite line, Tyler Miles told me, he said, "I'm just a redneck meathead." And then the rest of the hour-long interview I did, everything is like scientific data driven. I'm like, you're not a redneck meathead. This is like there's a number and a data reason, a data point for every single lift and change and tweak that you're doing in the system. So it's cool to see. And I think the guys are responding. One, they really like Tyler, even when he was only the sports science guy, dealing with like injuries. They liked him before that. But then when you look at these numbers and in just 96 days, the jumps that guys are making, once you start seeing a six-pack in the mirror, Zach, you're like, you know what? That workout sucked, but we'll do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I look great at the pool now.
Yeah, and that was a big storyline coming out of his promotion, Nick, is that the players had advocated for him and literally went to Billy's office, like, hire this guy. And I think that when you see that kind of buy-in from a strength coach, that's what you want, especially given where things were with the Gators. So, I think Craig Fitzgerald came in and, made a nice kind of change, but he's, Tyler Miles comes from that tree. So he's been able to pick up where he left off. And I am interested, Nick, because you got to now see it up close, but what is Tyler's, I guess, demeanor and kind of coaching style like in the weight room? Because he's definitely a different personality than Mark Hawking and even Craig Fitzgerald. He seems like a laid back guy, but I'm sure he's not when he's in that weight room.
Yeah, it's interesting. So talking to him, he is a week ahead of the program the team is on. So he goes through it himself the week before. Guys in great shape. Both him and Jake are in great shape. So Tyler's going through it the week before. And based on how he's feeling, hey, I need to change this before the guys get on it. Wow. So I thought that was interesting. But everything Florida's doing, their strength coach, you look at some strength coaches and you're like, he's definitely not doing the workout. But Tyler wakes up and is in the weight room at 4 a.m. every day so that he can do what he's prescribing to the team. He's a week ahead of them. So he knows everything. Yeah, he knows everything. And I would join him, but 4 a.m. I might be going to bed at 4. So I think that's interesting. He's definitely intense in the weight room. I think every strength coach is. I don't know that that's unique to him, but also like can have fun with the guys and watching guys go through it. It's really interesting. So all of Florida's weight room, they all have iPads. You hit before you start your workout, you're touching the iPad that's attached to the rack, and it's tracking the force, the speed that you're going up with weight on, and all of those are. I said to Tyler after the workout on Friday, I said, yeah, I was watching Khalil Jackson squat, and after every rep, he's looking. He goes, well, he's looking at the force. Like if the force is not, or force of the speed going up is not what we want, maybe we need to decrease his weight. And if it's going up too fast, hey, that's great, but we need to add weight to that because there's a range you need to be in. And even to the point of running, when you look at the catapults that the guys wear, you think, hey, we're just trying to see who's the fastest guy on the team. Or, hey, man, we looked at your catapult results and you were slacking on Thursday. Like you weren't giving us your all on Thursday. And he goes, it's not even that in real time. And it's funny because I went back and found pictures of him staring at an iPad in real time during workouts. He's looking and saying like, hey, guys, we're doing long strides. You should be at 70%. And he can go through and see, hey, so-and-so, hey, Devin Moore, you're at 85%. Slow it down. Like we're just doing 70 here. Or, hey, Sharif Denson, you're at 60%. You're not giving me enough. You need to get back up. So you're getting real-time data, which is why I thought, the redneck meathead line was so funny because his family owns a construction company, which I think he got a construction management degree from Kansas State. And when I went and looked, I'm like, if he would have taken one more math class, he would have gotten a civil engineering degree from K-State. So he's just a guy that numbers make sense to him. And I think there's no guesswork anymore. When you think of football strength and conditioning, you're thinking, hey, you just throw the bunch of meatheads into a room with a bunch of heavy stuff and have them pick it up and throw it down. I think the biggest thing I walked away from is both with Jake and Tyler is everything Florida's doing is intentional and there's a purpose and a reason. And data is the purpose and the reason that they use to reinforce everything.
Now, before we get inside the numbers, Nick, and really share some of the things that stood out that you've got to get numbers on, who are some of, from what you got to see, kind of the guys that setting the tone in the weight room, whether that's leadership, maybe some veteran presence that you're sensing, but without giving out too much, who are some guys that you just got to see kind of stand out in that element?
There's two that we talk about all the time, so I won't go too much into it. Graham Mertz, I watched his workout group. He's a leader. The team rallies around him, listens to him. When Graham Mertz talks, the group is silent. And then Derek Wingo's another one. He wasn't in the workout group today, but somebody that Tyler Miles pointed out. Wingo, shoulder injury, gained 8.8 pounds of lean muscle, which is hard to do when you've got a broken wing. And those are two guys I think the team really looks to. Obviously,
the 15s
they look to. Yeah, 15. 15 is an important number on the team. But then I look at, somebody like Hayden Hansen. And when you look at him, he's 6'6". He weighed 270 pounds. In January, he dropped almost 8 pounds to 262, but that was while gaining almost 6 pounds of muscle and losing nearly 14 pounds of fat. And when you look at him, there's not much fat on his body for him to lose. And then Damian George is one that Florida really wanted to highlight. Tyler Miles spoke glowingly of him moving from right tackle to guard. It's not just a position change. You're going up against different players as well. At tackle, you've got the Justice Boones, the Tyreek Sapps, number 19, the LJ McCrae's outside, and those 9 techniques can line up 8 yards away from you and just use their speed. You've got to be quick. When you're playing inside, you're going up against Cam Jackson. You're going up against Desmond Watson, and they're not lined up away from you. They're lined up where you can smell what they ate for lunch before the game, and they're on you quick. So I think the biggest thing they wanted with Damian was, hey, we need to drop fat. We need to gain muscle. We need to get stronger. And again, just in 96 days, dropped 17.5 pounds of fat while gaining 16 pounds of muscle. So I think the scans that they're doing also, because if you look at just the scale, Damian George went from 351 to 349. You're like, well, what the hell was he doing? And you really need to see, well, he gained 16 pounds of muscle while dropping 17.5 pounds of fat. So it's not just the number scale or the number on the scale, it's body composition. So those are some guys that they highlighted. Of course, I threw in everyone's favorite player, DJ Lagway. Sometimes you look at DJ and he's got kind of a baby face, but I saw him at the softball game on Friday. And he's all of 6'4" and weighs 240 pounds with 16% body fat. He gained 5 pounds, almost 6 pounds of muscle while losing 6 pounds of fat again in 96 days.
Man, imagine what that dude's going to look like in a couple of years. Just one semester on campus already. So, Nick, you already kind of teased some of them with some of the guys that have stood out from the workouts that you got to witness. Take us through some of the numbers that you got to get privy to, and just, without running through them all, you guys got to go to Gators Online to read that, but just talk to us about what they are measuring, keeping track of, and some of the interesting metrics that they're monitoring.
Yeah, so from a body standpoint wise, they're measuring everything, and I think the interesting part is that you might tell somebody, hey, we need you to gain, let's use Cormani McClain as an example. Like, you weigh 165 pounds. We want you playing at 180. We know that we're not going to be there by fall, but let's try to get you to 175. And you might tell a kid like that who probably has a hard time gaining weight. No sympathy from me for people who have a hard time gaining weight. Not a problem. Not a problem in this house. But the kid might be like, I can't. How am I going to do that? And they break it down week by week. And Florida has them weigh in every single Friday. And you have a goal weight, and you can be plus minus a pound or not. But if you're one of those guys that has to lose weight and you didn't hit your number on Friday, I'll see you 6 a.m. on Saturday for running. And then I'll see you again on 6 a.m. on Monday for running. Oh, and by the way, we work out Monday, so you're doing extra running before the actual workout. And if you're one of those guys that needs to gain weight, hey, buddy, we got a heavy lifting session 6 a.m. Monday. You're going to be pushing some sleds and lifting weight. Make sure you don't miss that weight again. And then from the lifting standpoint, I mean, they're tracking everything: clean, squats, bench, 40-yard dash, 10-yard vert, broad jump, anything that you would get at the NFL Combine. They're making sure these guys are getting. I've got fastest players on the team, guys on the Nordic tracks, L drills, pro agilities. We've got all kinds of stuff. I think one that jumped off the page to me was looking at bench, and you look at squat and bench and you think, okay, like the bigger guys should be doing that well. Heaviest squat, best squatter on the team, 500 pounds, a couple guys, but RJ Moten, Des Watson, 500-pound squats, Jake Slaughter, 500 pounds. You think, okay, those are guys. RJ Moten probably stands out because a former safety.
Yeah, I'm like, I did not expect that at all.
Like Des Watson, Jake Slaughter, Cam James, you're like, yeah, the offensive linemen, those guys, defensive linemen, yeah. But then you look at a guy
former
like
safety.
Yeah, you see a former safety. But then you go to like the outside linebackers, and Jamarcus Weston is all over the charts here. A 405-pound bench press. George Gums is all over it for outside linebackers with his clean.
We heard he was a workout warrior, and it looks like it based on what you've seen.
It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it. So it's really impressive.
And then you just show one profile of a guy, and let's go with your favorite player on the team, and just run through how just elite that he is in some of his metrics.
Okay, let's do. I want to go with. Let's go with George Gums. So what I have is these. It's broken down by position, and then I'm only getting in this only who is the best in their position room for these metrics. And if I go to defensive end, outside linebacker, George Gums has the highest clean at 385. George Gums has the highest vert at 36.5. The best pro agility at 4.4 seconds. The best L drill at 7.7 or 7.57. The best RSI, which is another machine, is 0.84.
You see why they took him in the portal.
He also has, the best. There's a hip machine that they do, and all of these numbers are in the 5s and in the 6s. Gums is 543. And then really they named one the Swamp King, which is the overall power index when they have an algorithm to add all of this stuff up. And RJ Moten is the current Swamp King in the weight room for the Gators.
Wow. Shout out to RJ. And I mean, that was a guy that, he was the starting linebacker in the spring game, Nick, right next to Pup Howard. You had Wingo out, you had Shamar James out. So basically Moten started at the will all spring, and, probably getting a new opportunity there, more chance to play because of how stacked that safety room is. And, he's probably now the number 2 behind Shamar James. I thought maybe it could be Miles Graham at will, and he probably will eventually. But Miles was out all spring. So between Moten playing and then looking like that in the weight room, he's probably putting himself in a good position for 2024.
And then we'll leave this one, Zach, because I don't want to give everything away. But we'll at a Jacksonville Gator club, Billy Napier called Aiden Mizell the fastest man at Florida. He might have some competition. Aiden Mizell might have some competition. Obviously, Tank Hawkins is a guy that we'll look at or people will think of in terms of who's the fastest man at Florida. But
It's going to surprise you when you guys read it. Nick told me,
Tank's
and I was not thinking who he was going to say.
Tank is probably has the fastest 40, and then the max miles per hour, not even on the offensive side of the ball, and a player that you'll have to read on Gators Online. But I was surprised that somebody ran faster than Aiden Mizell.
Yeah. Well, that is what, ladies and gentlemen, we call ATs. And if you want to read Nick's coverage from behind the scenes of Florida's offseason workouts, they will be rolling out over the next few days. Nick's got a lot of content from this, so we're going to make it stretch. You guys have wanted to learn more about what's happening in the weight room, how players are responding to Tyler Miles. We get questions, Nick, seemingly every other week about, wanting to get updates. So again, shout out to Rick Hurtado and Tyler for letting Nick in the building and allowing him to take part in those workouts. And if you want to check out all of that content and you're not subscribed to Gators Online, use that UF code, or the code UF1 when you go to sign up, and you can get 2 months of access for just $1. And on that note as well, congrats to Rick Hurtado for his new job. He's heading to the Miami Dolphins, and we wish him the best of luck. As Nick said, it's been great working with him, and he's provided not just us, but a lot of other media members as well with some better media opportunities, and we hope that gets to continue. So switching gears here.
Go Dolphins.
That's right. He gets to go home and cover Nick's team as well. So unfortunately, Nick, it was not all positive news this week for the Gators, and we're not just talking about Jaden Rashada. Before I thought that was going to be the biggest or craziest or wildest story that we covered the week, and then it wasn't. Unfortunately, Mekhi Barrow, a freshman defensive lineman for the Gators, was jailed this past weekend, according to a report out of the Monroe County Reporter, which has since been confirmed by Gators Online. For the record, we do not have the police report, but from the sheriff's report that the Monroe County reporter was able to obtain, not some great details that you want to read here from this high-speed chase, unfortunately led to somebody getting hit by Barrow's vehicle and sustaining an injury, and just a very, very bad mistake from Barrow, and something that he's going to have to answer for. We'll get more details, Nick, I think, in the coming weeks whenever we hear from Billy again. There definitely will be punishment for this, and honestly, he's going to have to make sure that he does all the things, I think, right to not, to keep his spot on the team. I don't know if this one incident will get him off the team. He's very lucky that things did not go much worse, because not only would he would have had bigger things to worry about. Let's just say that. So, but unfortunately, Nick, this is what happens with young athletes. And, we covered a story just a year or so ago with Anthony Richardson speeding. This is a little bit different of a situation, obviously. And you never want to be going that fast in a car.
Unless you're on track.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Unless you're on track. Racing. Yeah, we're kind of in uncharted territory here. We've never had a situation like this with a player under Billy Napier, where a player has been jailed for something like this. And it seemed like it turned from a hit and run to evading police with a marijuana possession charge. I'll tell you what. Speaking from experience, the Georgia Highway Patrol does not play games.
No,
it does not play games. Have many a ticket in the Peach State. It'll be interesting to see how Billy plays this out. But like you said, when you're talking about an accident at high speeds and then running off, that's serious. Getting to 150 miles an hour is serious. He's a young kid, 18 or 19 years old. you make mistakes. You probably hit somebody and you freak out and you try to run away and you don't know what to do and you're scared. So I feel bad, but I also feel bad for the person you hit. So yeah, there's definitely going to have to be something. This isn't a situation that you just say, you live and you learn.
No,
I'm sure there'll be some internal things he has to do. But like you said, Florida is in a position where they're over the scholarship limit because they just added Elijah Badger, and you're giving your head coach a great reason to be like, hey, Elijah, scholarship's wide open and free. Just had one open up. So
you can make him earn back his scholarship for sure.
Yeah. Out of state.
Yeah. Like Nick said, be careful driving through the state of Georgia. And, according to that sheriff's report that from the Monroe County Reporter, he had told deputies that the reason that he sped away was because his license was suspended. Man, just get the ticket for the suspended license and the weed charge. That's a lot worse offense than what he ended up with. So, again, that situation will have to work itself out. This to your point though, Nick, this is not something that we see very often in Napier's program. Knock on wood, these guys have been doing a good job staying out of trouble, and just some reinforcements here. Not only that will happen education wise with Mackay, but obviously his teammates and stuff can hopefully see something like this and know that they never need to go that fast behind the wheel of a car. So, but we will switch gears, pun intended, on that, and
downshift,
and yes, and we'll get into this last topic, which I think is of interest of Florida fans. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to myperfectfranchise.net. If you're ready to leave the corporate rat race for the American dream, looking for a side hustle while working your current job, wanting to diversify, build wealth, and or leave a legacy, Andy can help. He's a franchise consultant as well as a franchise owner and helps people find franchises that fit their skill sets, financial requirements, time to commit, and more. His services, 100% free, and he's here to help. If you have any questions about business ownership, you can learn more and contact Andy anytime at myperfectfranchise.net or calling or texting him at 404-973-9901. Now, Nick, some other news came out this week. They used to release this every offseason, Nick, and it obviously was, important. I think fans want to know what the themes are and the home game designations. But the last couple of years, this press release from Florida has taken on a little bit more importance because when you learn the home game designations now, you figure out what game Florida is going to wear black uniforms for. Last year it was Arkansas. This year, LSU. And a bit higher stakes with the Tigers coming to town and them wearing those black jerseys once again. Nick, your reaction to that and thoughts on seeing the black jerseys again for a second year in a row?
Well, I wonder. I hope they still do it. It's maybe you don't. It's baseball superstition in me. But I remember Florida baseball used to have black jerseys, and they lost like 2 games in a row. They used to wear them like on Tuesdays, and they lost like 2 games in a row, and we never saw them again. And I asked Kevin O'Sullivan about it, and he's like, "Yeah, no, those are done. Those don't have any wins in them." So I think it's something that's important to Billy Napier, and I wonder if it's black or if they do something different. Maybe they go to the throat. I think to him, it's important to do something to honor the military for those salute who serve game. Clearly, it is. He had 5 jerseys made to donate for families, military families who are going through hardships and need assistance. So that I think that auction is still
tomorrow,
going through the
going on Saturday.
Will end. So It's clearly important to him. I think supporting our veterans, our active military is important to everyone that's listening, anyone that's listening to this show. So I hope they do something, whether it's a black jersey, a camouflage jersey. Yeah. Listen, buddy, I know there's a lot of people up there in High Springs and Alachua that would jump all over a camo Gator jersey. Personally, I like the black jerseys. I think they looked really slick, and if you didn't lose to Arkansas, I think a lot more people would have wanted to buy all those game-worn jerseys. But yeah, I love them. I love the black jerseys. I think it's a great look. But like talking black jerseys, Zach, is like talking politics or religion. You're not going to get a consensus, and you're going to get a lot of people angry.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, now you guys know, I think everybody was planning to come to the LSU game already this year, but now you have even more incentive to go because you will get to see those black jerseys again. And as Nick mentioned, Billy Napier is having an auction on Saturday. There's already been bids on these jerseys, but on Saturday they can be bid online or in person in Melrose, Florida, at Auctions by Atkins. At 1 p.m., they will be auctioning off 5 framed black jerseys that Napier recently purchased and signed, and each one of them with a core value of the military on the nameplate. They're up for auction, and then all of the proceeds will be donated to the Gainesville Fisher House Foundation. And if you don't know about the Gainesville Fisher House Foundation, it is located in Gainesville on the campus of the VA Medical Center. It is a nonprofit organization that offers shelter and support during a medical crisis to service members, retirees, veterans, and their family. The Fisher House in Gainesville is one of 100 around the nation, and the one in Gainesville is one of the busiest in the country, serving over 1,500 veterans and their families each year. So a really cool cause that Napier, this is something that he's doing all on his own. This is not in partnership with the UAA. This is just something that he said he wanted to go out of his way. So props to him. If you are into framed jerseys or in the market for it, you got a man cave like this that you'd love to hang it up in there, you can go check that out and be a part of that auction. You can check out our story at Gators Online. Billy Napier auctioning signed black jerseys, donating proceeds to the Fisher House if you want more information on that. So that will do it for this week's show, and we'll be back next week to Nick, when we're going to find out where the Gators are playing baseball.
Selection Monday. Right now, Florida looks like they're in. They went one and done in Hoover. All the other 13 win teams, SEC win teams, are having very good weeks in Hoover. Florida's was quick. I think Florida's resume is enough to get them in as of taping. D1 baseball and Baseball America project Florida to go to the Tallahassee Regional, which would be an easy drive for me. Sister-in-law, brother-in-law live there. Free lodging for me. And listen, I might even learn how to do some balloon animals at the circus out there in right field.
Oh, buddy, I hope that happens for you, because that would be the best on the road destination for you to go to, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, there's some other places where I haven't been. Like, it'd be cool to go see, a new baseball stadium. I've been to Dick Hauser before, but that would be a very convenient trip for me. And listen, Florida's season hasn't gone the way that way the fans wanted, the team wants. But if you knock Florida State out of their own regional, a lot of the sins of 2024 are forgiven for Florida baseball fans. So,
especially given the way that series went during the year, that would be payback for sure. So, we'll make Selection sure that you
Monday,
guys
we're tuned in, waiting to see our fate for what the committee says. Listen, Linda Teeler just got put in charge of the NCAA championships. Might want to call Linda. Hey, Linda, you remember the school you worked at for 3 decades? Yeah. What if
hook us up with a good regional?
What if they're one of the 64,
huh? Well, we'll find out on Monday, and Nick, as always, will be on top of it. So make sure that you guys stay tuned for that. Next week, we will preview that on our next episode, and make sure that you guys stay tuned as well for all of Nick's content from his behind-the-scenes look at Florida's offseason workouts. Again, use that code UF1 to get 2 months of access to Gators Online for just $1. Official visits start next week, so that's going to be happening. You guys are going to want to be on top of all of that, and Keith and Corey's coverage as well. So we will be back next week with a new episode of the Gators Online